Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Podcast, Joey and Holly talk about 13 vegetables and herbs you can grow very easily. Their guest this week, he is the inventor of the rain gutter grow system, Larry Hall. The link will be placed in the show notes February 27th, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time on BePreparedRadio.com and downloadable from iTunes. Sponsored in part by DollarSeed.com for your flowers, vegetables, and herbs. All organic seeds, all only $1 a pack. DollarSeed.com. And by WillowSpringsSoap.com. Handmade soaps with simple, recognizable ingredients, making soaps using the cold kettle process while using traditional methods. WillowSpringsSoap.com.
ManureTea.com. Authentic Haven brand, 100% natural soil conditioner for the home gardener. For all your vegetables, herbs, and flowers. ManureTea.com. Always free shipping.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. I'm Joy Barrett. Well, today we're going to plant some herbs in a couple of different mediums. One way is we're going to use this container that actually will fit on the railing of the porch. Now this is a size for a 2x4 railing. We found this actual container, and you can purchase these at your local home and garden center, and it works quite well. Last year we had some bush beans in this container. The year before we had some herbs and some carrots, so we're going to strictly make this into our herb garden. Now what we've done is filled this with potting mix, organic potting mix, none of that miracle stuff, just regular organic potting mix. And we've hydrated the soil with manure tea. Now simply because we had some leftover manure tea and from watering our seedlings, so we just made sure the soil was nicely and nice and moist and hydrated, so when we plant our herbs they'll get a good jump start. Now we're going to measure this off into 3 quadrants because we're going to plant cilantro, we're going to plant chives, and we're going to plant savory in here. And we're going to pack it in fairly tight because we want to have maximize what space we have here. So we're just going to basically divide it off in 3 quadrants, with the cilantro being in the center. That's going to be our largest quantity because we use a lot of cilantro with salsas and other cooking. And then the sides will be savory and chives, just regular chives, and we'll get into garlic chives momentarily. So now there's a couple of different ways of planting it. You can simply move the soil or put seeds down and put soil on top. What I have found with the cilantro is you've got these little round seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the prongs of my rake here, and I'm simply just going to make little holes throughout the center here where we're going to plant. And I'm just going to basically put a seed in every hole so we can really get a good thick cover of cilantro, and as we cut it back it'll grow again. Now obviously it's too cold to put this out on the porch now, so we're going to keep it in our mini greenhouse by the window and occasionally put it on a heat mat to keep the roots warm. So we're going to get started here planting some cilantro in our herb garden. Now the depth of the holes is simply about twice the depth of the seed here, and that's about a good rule of thumb that you want to plant. And we're just going to basically fill in 1 per hole. And you might have to plant more throughout the season, and you can also plant this later on in the summer so you can get it in the coolness of the fall, because cilantro is heat sensitive and it will bolt relatively quick whenever those hot days come. So I've got a few spots here, and I'm just going to continue to pack it in relatively heavy. Okay. Now, to cover this, I'm simply just going to use my fingers, and anything that's not covered I'll just push down. You could also use the bottom of the trowel. Now with the soil being as hydrated as it is, I'm not going to water them in until I see the top of the soil really start getting dry, because these seeds will absorb the water that's in the soil already. Now over here we're going to plant our regular chives. And I'm just going to basically do a little different method. I'm going to take and just kind of loosen the soil up. And with the chives here, you can see they're very small. They're just like onion seeds. So I'm just going to take, relatively decent handful there. And I'm simply just going to broadcast them over the area I'm planting, really packing them in heavy. And if need be, we can thin these out as they begin to germinate, but I'm really going to shy away from that unless it's absolutely necessary. Just going to take my hand. You could also take the trowel and press down to get good soil contact with the seed. And if necessary, you can always take some extra potting mix and kind of shake over the top to make sure the seeds are all under the soil. So now we're going to plant the savory, and savory is a very tiny seed as well. And it kind of has the growth pattern of, let's say, a basil or a rosemary plant. So obviously I don't want to pack in as tight as I have with these other herbs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the soil on the top and just pinch a few seeds over our area where we're going to plant. And then I will see what we need to do on the thinning out portion once we get a stand. So that's one pinch full. And you know, it's really just your personal judgment on how much you think you should plant. But I always recommend planting way more than you think you need, so in case something doesn't germinate, or if you have a lot of that germinates, you can always maneuver it around to places that you may want to plant it. So with that, the seeds are so tiny, I know they have fell in all the loose areas, so I'm simply going to pack it down here. And now you want to mark your herb garden so you know what you've got. We've got the chives, we've got the cilantro, and we've got the savory, so we're going to get markers and we'll stick them in, and we're just going to use the portions of window blinds so we know what we've got here. Then we're going to go over and we're going to plant some garlic. So now that we've got our herb container plan that we'll put on the porch eventually, we're going to take in some of these flats and plant some chives. Now chives is a beneficial plant or herb to place in your garden. Now with chives, we're going to plant regular chives and we're going to plant garlic chives. With regular chives, with the onion chives, you can put them around your carrots when you begin planting carrots, and that will help detour or rid off nematodes, aphids, and mites. And that can, really help your carrot production if you get those bad insects out of the way. So the onion smell kind of detours that, so you wanted to plant it around where you're going to put the carrots in if you have a lot of problems with that. So I've got 4 cells here, and you can plant this, however you want, but what we're going to do is simply plant very heavily in each container, each little cell here. And you could do this with, the plastic cups as well if you wanted to plant and use those. Put these on in the mini greenhouse with a little heat underneath to get them germinated. And the same thing we'll do with the chives here, the regular chives. That was garlic chives. And we just simply want to make sure that they're covered, and we'll give a little. And again, this soil was hydrated already, so we won't water them in right away. So we've got the regular chives there, and we've got the garlic chives that we planted first, and we'll get those marked on the side with a label. So we're going to plant some lemon basil and some large leaf basil. And I've got these cells here that are 12 each. And again, you could plant in, cups or whatever method of planting you want to do. Now, based on what companion planting chart you look at, planting basil beside your tomato plants can rid and detour hornworms, mosquitoes, and flies from hurting or getting on and detouring your tomatoes from growing properly. The hornworms can completely destroy a crop very easily. So what we're going to do is plant 12 of each of these, and later on we'll start more. And with the basil here, I've got the large leaf basil, and I'm really going to put about 3 or 4 seeds in each cell, and then we can divide them out, and that should give us about the right amount that we need for our tomato patch this year in both the large and the small garden. And we'll put them in our small greenhouse. Now a tip now, if you've got many trays of like size, we've covered the top of them with soil. Now just to give a little compression so they make good contact, you can simply take one tray and set on top of another tray. So I'm going to get the lemon basil planted. So these are just some of the mini herbs that we will plant this year and place in our garden. Now, why would you want to plant herbs? Well, for a variety of reasons. One, it's very inexpensive to purchase the seeds versus buying the pre-cut herbs or the already cut herbs at your local supermarket. And two, if you look at your companion planting charts on any search engine that you would look up, a lot of the companion plants are herbs and they deter a lot of the bad bugs, but also some of the herbs bring in a lot of the good bugs that your garden can benefit from. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe and comment. We put out a video each and every Tuesday, and I'm Joey Barrett, and this has been a Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. For more information, you can find us on our website at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.